Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, old Mets fans, and welcome, baseball fans. Hopefully, you're enjoying the start of spring training and you're getting excited about the season. I know we are. Okay, so we're going to talk about a couple of topics today. Number one, I just want to bring up the Yamamoto point. Yamamoto obviously signed with the Dodgers, and good for them. They've assembled basically an all-star team out in LA, and it looks like they're going to do phenomenal this year. Now, I wonder, David Stearns has been preaching to the choir how he believes we have a chance to make the playoffs, how he intends our team to be a contender. I like us to be a World Series contender, but you know what? He wants us to contend for a playoff spot, most likely that sixth spot. Now, I wonder if Yamamoto comes out and dominates, how much regret there will be that the Mets didn't at least try to leverage Steve Cohen's pocket by offering maybe an extra $40-50 million. Now, I know the counter to that could be he didn't want to come here, and the Dodgers could have made a counter offer to that. But I have to that thought process will always be in my mind. Like, what if? You never know. Maybe the Dodgers said, hey, this is all we're going to offer you. And if the Mets could have strong-armed the situation, what if? Because at the end of the day, imagine we have our roster and we have Yamamoto here for the next, hopefully, decade, but we have a true bona fide ace. How much more excited and confident we would be if the PECOTA projection and many prognosticators project the Mets to win about 84 games this year. Imagine if they had an ace. They would be that much closer to being a actual playoff contender. Really. So the Dodgers, who are stacked, yes, they valued Yamamoto, but what I've said months ago to the Mets, Yamamoto was that much more valuable. So I don't want to go back in time. I just know that right now, and I don't know how many years in the future, the Mets will be searching for that legitimate ace, that can carry the team for the next decade. Now, that leads me to my next point. And if you could just help out with the channel, like, subscribe. I can't say thank you enough. Just wanted to mention that real quick. We're having a lot of interesting topics, conversation, opinions here. I want to hear your opinions. Always drop a comment. Okay, so that brings me to my next point. Now, I feel, and I don't know if this is how you feel, I feel that because of the big letdown last year, because of the new way that David Stearns is running the organization, that there just seems to be, I don't want to say a lack of interest, but less interest this year than in quite some time. Quite some time. Now, is it because, we're nervous about losing our best hitter, Pete Alonso? Is it because, we think that we left a lot on the table to be desired? But I think that it's because Mets fans are intelligent. Mets fans are smart. We know that, okay, yes, we have some young hitters coming up, Acuna, Drew Gilbert, Jet Williams, all these young guys, Ronnie Mauricio when he gets back from being an injured, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos. I mean, the list goes on and on, with young bats, young position players. But Mets fans, like I said, are smart. We know that at the end of the day, you're going to win when you have good pitching. Good pitching. Really. And, we have Kodai Senga, but besides that, we have nothing. We really have nothing. Hopefully there's guys in the minor leagues who surprised the hell out of us. But at the end of the day, if we would have had Yamamoto, at least we would have had two bona fide pitchers and a bona fide ace. So at least that would have gave us a base. Now we have to build a rotation, right? So the last time we built a rotation probably began in 2011. And that just goes to me. I was just thinking, probably the least interested I was in the New York Mets was probably around that time, 2011, maybe going into the 2011, 2012 season, after maybe Jose Reyes went to the Marlins, after we basically had to reset. We traded away Carlos Beltran. That was when, we knew that we had to rebuild and that years and years ahead of us were to come. And in those years, why there were years? Well, we had no rotation at that time. So I'll give you a little example. In 2011, we traded Carlos Beltran for one of our pieces. We acquired Zach Wheeler. Great, great. So Zach Wheeler, he was going to go in the minor leagues. We were going to develop him for years to come. The next year after that, 2012, we were able to trade R.A. Dickey for Travis d'Arnaud and Noah Syndergaard, our second piece. That was in 2012. Then in late 2012, Matt Harvey, the young phenom, he came up and he was lights out. He pitched in 10 games. He was 3-5 with a 2.73 earned run average, and that was to close out 2012. Now, I say this because when we went into the 2013 season, now in 2013, we had a young ace in Matt Harvey who was going to continue to develop. At that time, we had Zach Wheeler, who was a very high-profile prospect, and we also acquired Noah Syndergaard. So we were at the beginning of building our rotation. Yes, we had Jacob DeGrom in our farm system, but he wasn't really as highly touted. Jacob DeGrom, he came to the major leagues in 2014, and he was just so much more than was expected. He went 9-6 with a 2.69 ERA, and he won Rookie of the Year. So going into 2013, I forgot Matt Harvey, All-Star game, lights out, phenomenal. Then in 2014, you have Jacob DeGrom added to the mix. Then in 2015 is when we put everything together. It was building since we traded for Wheeler. That's 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. And by 2015, we had a legitimate rotation. The bottom line is it took time. So not getting Yamamoto, okay, you can argue about the money, but Mets fans, if you have time, yeah, that's one thing. But you don't acquire these aces like that. So when you have an opportunity to succeed, maybe it is worth paying that extra $50 million or $100 million because now, as you see, it took 4 years for the Mets to build a rotation that was able to carry them to the playoffs. And that's what the Mets were in the mid 2013, 2014, 2015. When they became good, they were carried by their rotation and timely hitting. Yes, they eventually added Cespedes. Yes, Michael Conforto, who came up mid-season, he provided a boost. But the Mets weren't carried by their offense. They were carried by timely hitting. But the biggest facet of the team was pitching. Now you fast forward to 2024, we have a limited pitching and we have a lot of guys who are question marks. So the Yamamoto thing, like I said, could have sped up the timeline. All right, that didn't happen. How long is it going to take David Stearns to do what we did 10 years ago? Really? How long is it going to take for him to build a legitimate rotation that can catapult and carry this team? Really? How long is it going to take? I hope that with the resources, with the added offensive chips, like the good thing about adding multiple shortstops and multiple catchers, and I get the messages all the time. Why are we adding another shortstop? Why are we adding another catcher? We have Francisco Alvarez. We have Francisco Lindor. We have Ronnie Mauricio. We have backups upon backups upon backup. Well, at the end of the day, there are certain positions that are valued more, like a pitching prospect that has the potential to be a starter has a lot of value. A shortstop, a prime position, has a lot of value. A center fielder has a lot of value. A catcher has a lot of value. There aren't many good catchers in the major leagues. So when you have multiple good prospects, those prospects, if Kevin Parada turned out to be a high-profile prospect, and you already have Francisco Alvarez, now you have an amazing trade chip to potentially acquire that young pitcher. Or Colin Hewitt, a young shortstop. I believe we drafted him in 2022, 2023. He was a top pick. That he's a shortstop, even though we already have multiple shortstops. If he turns out to be something, he may be somebody that you may be willing to flip, or he may be somebody that, hey, if Francisco Lindor is flipped. But at the end of the day, it gives you options when you accumulate talent on your roster. Now, like I said, how long is it going to take David Stearns to make these viable trades to acquire pitching talent? Is he going to wait till next year and sign the pitching talent? Well, we've seen how ridiculous these contracts that these free agent pitchers try to demand, and when they do get signed, it just seems like you'll basically bloat your payroll, and it doesn't seem like an effective way. So I feel that you're going to acquire your pitching talent through development, draft, developing in the minors, eventually bringing them up. That's going to be the way David Stern does it, or through some type of trade. I don't feel that we're going to get aces acquired through free agency. The Yamamoto thing, like I said, was very, very rare. You not normally don't have 25-year-old phenoms in the free agent market. I don't think David Stearns values giving pitchers at the age of 30, 31, 32 these bloated contracts unless it turns out to be a value contract. So I think the only thing, it took the Mets 4 years, 10 years ago to build their World Series rotation. I think it should take David Stearns half that time because he has more resources. He has obviously more money, and the farm system is not in bad shape when it comes to position players. So hopefully, if you have a team that's in need of a shortstop, in need of a catcher, in need of X's positions that we have in the minors, and they're at the precipice of winning, and maybe they'll deal a guy at single A that may be ready in 2-3 years that might fit our timeline. That's another thing. We got to figure out what the heck our timeline is going to be. And I think the questions will be answered as this season progresses. Are we going to be a team where our young guys overperform? Are we going to have like a Mark Vientos all of a sudden, hit the stage? Is he going to have a Jacob DeGrom year where he exceeds expectations? Is Brett Beatty going to exceed expectations? Are we going to bring up a Luis Angel Acuna and he exceeds? Drew Gilbert and he exceeds? So if a lot of these young guys exceeds expectation, that greatly shortens our timelines to being able to put a World Series contender on the table. And it also gives us more trade chips. So that's my quick analysis. What do you think about that? Do you see less excitement this year? Do you think it's going to take a long time for David Stern to build a viable rotation? That was, for example, the rotation we built 10 years ago with Wheeler, Syndergaard, DeGrom, and Harvey. And I apologize, I left out METS. I never felt that METS was of that level. I never felt that he was that highly touted prospect. I always felt that he was the lefty with good stuff, and he always underperformed. He had a bit of, I don't want to say temper, but he was a bit emotional on the mound, and I never felt that he was able to harness his ability. I felt that he always was a bit mental out there. Not in a bad way, but, that's the difference between a lot of guys who are superstars and a lot of guys who are just good. The superstars have the ability to keep their thoughts, if their mental thoughts under control, keep calm, cool, and do well under pressure. So those are my quick thoughts. What do you think? Drop a comment. Continue to like, share, subscribe. I can't thank you enough. We're ramping it up because the season is afoot. And if we hear any big news or anything that big comes out, we will cover it here on Dominant Mets Nation. Again, I can't thank you enough. Have a great day, and I will speak to you very, very soon. Let's go Mets.